All right, so on the boat, you'll want to grab the ether from the chest that's off to the left. I also like to grab the all materia because of my route. So I just buffer left, and that gets you straight over to the chest. So just run left gets you to the chest, and then just up gets you to the materia. So just left, just up for ether and all. Then the sequence here is to talk to, you got to talk to Tifa and Red first. So I go straight up here, and then from this screen transition, you can just hold down. So just buffer down into this room to get running. And then Tifa is up here. So talk to her until she makes that little salute and has one more text box. And then buffer down left off the ladder. So to get onto Red's spot from this ladder, you actually only have to hold up. So just hold up here off the ladder, and he zigzags right up there to get up to Red. And so once you've and then from here I go down right plus L on this ladder to get him running up like that, and then switch to upright. So that's it. You just have to talk to Tifa and Red. And then coming down here, you can buffer just left to go down the stairs and get past these barrels. And then navigate down to Eris. You have to talk to Eris twice. This game is a lot like Dark Souls. You have to talk to NPCs more than once sometimes. So talk to Eris until she mentions Barret is the thing. So first, she's gonna give you this thing where she's like, "Oh, looking forward to it," and then that's that conversation. Talk to her again, and she says the Barret thing. Now, if you already talked to her before you went upstairs, and then you talked to Tifa and Red, and then you came back down here, she would start on this, if that's the case. Basically, this talk to Barret is triggered by talking to Eris after Eris, Tifa, and Red have all been spoken to, right? It's just fastest to do Eris last. But you gotta remember to talk to her twice. So she mentions Barret, okay. Then you run back up, buffer down. And so what her mentioning Barret does is it takes this guy away right here. So now you can run in here. Now, this is one of those weird potential soft locks. So this is not only fast, but it also avoids a soft lock. On this room, when you're loading into this room, buffer just up and run. Only up and run, talk to Barret. If you talk to him from the left side, Cloud can soft lock trying to run over to that position. And now after this thing, when he turns to Cloud and says this is the last text box, so buffering right and run during this gets you out quickly, and then buffer upright and run into this room. And we are now ready to talk about preemptive Jenova and Jenova strategies. So Jenova is a pretty interesting boss. The first thing that we're going to do is, well, we got to do the menu first. So you can take Eris into this fight for safety with her healing wind, but the fastest thing to do is to take Tifa and Red because they are the fastest grenade throwers, and we're about to throw a lot of grenades. Eris is the slowest grenade thrower, except for maybe Cloud. So the two fastest grenade throwers are Tifa and Red. So we take those two. And then how this fight is going to work, I hold triangle as they run in so that we open the menu as soon as possible. Because how this fight is going to work is we need to get as many Bravers as possible on Cloud during this fight, while we also just throw grenades. So in order for Cloud to get to make sure that he gets as many Bravers as possible, we want each one of Jenova's attacks, except for Tail Laser, to one-shot Cloud into a limit. And the way that we can achieve that is by using that one hyper that we bought on Cloud, and then we want to tranquilize the other two characters. And the reason that you do that is because Sadness actually makes characters take 30% less damage. They don't deal less damage or anything like that. They take 30% less damage if they are in Sadness state. The drawback is that they gain less limit. You know, their limit bars fill up more slowly in Sadness. But at this point, we don't care about limits on anyone who's not Cloud. So that's actually good that they get slower limit breaks. So sadness on those two after hyper on cloud. And then the rest of the menu is you go down to equip, and we're going to take the Force Stealer and the Power Wrist on Cloud because we want Cloud's Bravers to do as much damage as possible. So it's just a double tap on weapon to get the Force Stealer, double tap on accessory to get the Power Wrist, then square to get over to your materia, and we want Cloud's health to be ideally less than 364, or we want it to be 364 or less. And the way that we can quickly do that, this is optional. You don't have to do this. A lot of runners actually skip this. I do this though, and it makes menuing pretty nice in a minute here. You just go over to your new slot that you got from Force Stealer and go equip 1 down to Shiva, right? 1 down to Shiva. That will reduce Cloud's max HP by 2%. Which should get him below that threshold. Having that low of max HP makes it so that every one of Jenova's attacks, except for Tail Laser, will give him a limit break in 1 hit, since he's in Fury and he has lower maximum HP. Then R1 over to Tifa, and we're going to replace Choco Lure here with Steel. And so from our Shiva spot, that's just an R1 down and 2 up to get to Steel. And that is for later. So that gives her higher dex. That doesn't really matter though. Right now, we just want to be able to steal later, and it's really easy to set up right now. And that's the whole menu. So I should have done it. I should have taken a save state before the menu, but the whole thing was, come in here to use, down to hyper, use it on Cloud, down to Tranks, use it on Tifa Red, back out, equip, Force Stealer, Power Wrist, Shiva, Steal. And that's the menu. Okay, so now we are ready to fight Jenova. Let's talk about the preemptive setup for the fight. If you did... So I showed 2 different versions of the preemptive setup. One of them left the Mithril Caves on 156, and one of them left the Mithril Caves on 160. If you did the version that sets up after getting the battle on the second room with the Vine, and it leaves on StepID 156, that is the easiest preemptive Jenova setup in the world. So we'll poke this to show this. So 156 is still what your StepID would be, because this is the next hostile screen after that. And what we're going to do is another fraction neutral setup. So you come in here, and you see that we're on fraction 64. So the setup, in order to land on the correct preemptive StepID for Jenova, again, this is if you did the first version of the setup that I showed, that left on 156, is from here, you run only left until Cloud bonks, just left, and he bonks into this corner. Then stop and run only up, all the way into the fight. Up all the way into the fight. There you go. And so what that did is, you can see we are now on the preemptive StepID line, which is StepID 198, and we are still on fraction 64. So that is a fraction neutral setup that will always pass exactly those 12, or those 6 StepIDs, which, or 6? No. 42. 32. 42. 42. It'll pass exactly the right amount of StepIDs to land you on 198 fraction neutral, and what that will do, just like we've been showing, is that gets you a preemptive Jenova fight. Look, she's looking the wrong way, and that's that. Now, if you did the second version of the preemptive Jenova setup that I showed, that leaves on fraction or on StepID 160, which is the one that I use in runs right now, the preemptive StepID, or the preemptive setup, is a little weirder, and you actually have to be kind of careful with it. So how it works is you run directly left until you're in front of the door, and holding R would shoot you into the door. So at that point, you start holding R. So start holding R while you're holding left to go in the door, and then you run left in this room, you take R off and you run only left here. Then you release run, so Cloud does that little walk toward it, release left, and then run only up. And there's your fraction neutral setup for preemptive Jenova. However, there's something kind of weird about it that you can discover if you're always looking at your fractions, which is that, so let's take a save state right here, and I'm going to show you something. If you go left to about right here, right here, and we'll take even another save state just to show you this. If you go right from or left with R from here, that puts you at fraction 64. And if you way overrun it and go into the left side of the door, whoops, that was too much. If you way overrun it and go into the left side of the door, that's also fraction 64. But if you hit R1, like right exactly here, it's fraction 32. For some reason, depending on when you hit R, you might save a fraction. Which means if that happens, if you accidentally save that fraction, that means that if you started this setup on fractions 0, which after a non-hostile area means you basically have a 1/8 random chance for that to happen, a 1/8 chance. If you save the fraction and you got the 1/8 chance of starting on fraction 0, the setup won't work, and you won't get the Jenova preemptive. So I guess what that means is be cognizant to try to get the timing right here of, boom, hitting that R1 to kind of get into the right side of the door, and you should be fine. And then again, run left, release run, release left, and then run up, and there you go. That is the fraction neutral setup for preemptive Jenova from this StepID. All right, so it is now time to talk about how to fight Jenova. Now, whether you got Jenova preemptive or not, the fight is the same strategy. It's just very good to get it preemptive, because if it's not preemptive, she basically gets the first turn, and if it is or maybe you'll get like 1 or 2 grenades off first. But if it is preemptive, then all 3 of you get a grenade off, and Cloud gets a Braver, and the Braver is double damage, just like with apps. So it's a huge benefit to get this fight preemptive. This is a very simple fight, though, what you actually have to do. Basically, you want Cloud first in the turn order, and you throw grenades with all 3 characters always. Now, the reason you want Cloud first in the turn order, though, is because whenever Jenova hits him, he's already going to have a grenade queued up before he gets hit. She hits him, gives him a limit, and then when your 3 grenades are going off, Cloud gets his turn back, and he can sneak in a limit queue prioritization and get in another Braver. And this is where it's particularly important to be counting your Bravers. Did you get a Braver on Guard Scorpion? You got the one on Apps. Did you get one on Reno? Did you get one on Rufus? Did you get one on Motorball? Right? You should have all your Bravers counted. And at this point, what you would really love is to get your 8th Braver to happen on Jenova Birth. It's more likely that you're going to leave with 5, 6, or 7. 5 is pretty bad. 7's pretty good, right? You're kind of going to be in the ballpark there. But at this point, you pretty much really, really want to know how many Bravers you've gotten in order to inform how you need to tackle a fight that's going to happen later, where you are going to get your 8th Braver so that you can unlock Cross Slash. One thing to note with all of this Braver talk, and I'll probably have to repeat this later, is that you cannot Braver on a fight that you run away from, because it won't count. You only Braver on fights that you finish. Otherwise, they do not count towards the unlocking of Cross Slash. So this is a very simple fight. It's got a little bit of nuance to it, so I will talk about the nuance. But because it's going to be preemptive, we are going to be able to just start the fight by holding up in circle. Oh, and I don't know if I talked about this with apps before. I'm not sure if I already talked about this with apps, But here's what happens with preemptives, is all of your characters start with full ATB. So you can just hold circle and up to queue up their grenades as quickly as possible, right? Now, here's the deal about this, is grenades, even though they visually turn the boss around, she is actually still in the preemptive vulnerable state, because grenades don't do extra damage when you to a preempted character, and they also don't take them out of the preemptive state. Again, even though they visually turn the boss around, she's gonna be preemptive vulnerable until either you hit her with a physical attack that gains the preemptive bonus, or she gets her first turn. And so, in order to, and so what's really nice about the preemptive, and this was the case with apps as well, is that you can get a grenade with Cloud, and you can get the Braver with Cloud, and it'll still get the preemptive bonus. And so you achieve that by holding up in circle to queue up those 3 grenades, like we already did. Cloud went first because he's on the top of the party, and with preemptives, everybody starts full. And then you just hold down in circle to queue up his Braver. And that's going to get prioritized in the queue, and then he's going to get this preemptive Braver. There's one more thing going on right now, and that is that I'm not going to queue up Tifa's next turn right away, and we will talk about that in just a second. For now, though, enjoy this Braver. Ooh, hitting for 580 damage. So that's quite a bit. Now, the reason that I didn't queue up Tifa's turn yet is because Jenova already has her turn queued. We don't, so it's not like Tifa's going to get another grenade off here. So it doesn't matter when we queue hers up, as long as it's before Jenova's next turn. You know what I mean? But we do want to keep Cloud first in the turn order so he can keep sneaking these Bravers in whenever he gets them. So that's why don't queue up the grenade with Tifa right away. Wait for Cloud to finish his Braver, switch to Cloud, queue up his grenade, then Tifa, and then Red. So now, basically, you just hold circle to queue up grenades until Cloud gets a limit break. And that's kind of how you fight the fight. It will generally go, the fight will generally be party Jenova. There are some exceptions, though. Like when she does stop, she skips a turn after that. And so that is why the party just got 2 turns, and then Cloud got another turn, and Tifa got another turn, and Red got another turn. Okay, there we go. So I guess we got 2 extra turns there. But now Jenova always does the same sequence of moves. She leads with stop, right? After the preempt, she leads with stop. Then she does these single laser shots. You want one of them to hit Cloud. Unfortunately, they didn't. Now she's going to do either 1 or 3 W lasers. I don't think she can do 2. Oh, no. Now it's tail laser. So tail laser is the one attack that is not going to give Cloud a limit break in one shot, but she has a random chance to do tail laser twice at once. So we'll see if that happens. It's kind of good if she does because it gives Cloud a limit. Oh, but it missed him! She did the double, but it missed him. That's actually worst case scenario. Because now he didn't get the limit break even though she double tail lasered. So it was slow and he didn't get a Braver. So that's just bad luck right there. So then she does W laser after the tail lasers. One of them hit Cloud though, so we get the Braver. So now we start holding down in circle to queue up this next Braver. And then release so that we don't queue anything else up. Because we don't want this Tifa a turn yet. Then swap over to Cloud, queue up the grenades. Now, sometimes she does gas here, and sometimes she just skips this turn. And so, if she did W lasers, and then you do a Braver, and then you queue up your turns, and Cloud just throws the grenade right away, that means that she skipped her gas turn. But this time, we got the gas, and it's on Cloud, which is great, because that's another Braver for us. So, once again, hold down and circle for the Braver. Oh, but she's already dead. Is it just me, or did she die really fast there? You know why? It's because she missed with stop, and we got a bunch of extra turns. So yeah, that is the Jenova fight. Cloud did not learn cross slash there. Because we're doing a tutorial and I'm doing all these boss fights a bunch of times, I actually don't really remember how many bravers we've gotten. So, if we were really curious, we could look at RAM values to figure it out. But let's just show the boss fight again here. Because there's a couple things that might happen here, and let's see if any of them happen. So, first of all, up in circle for grenades. Down in circle for Cloud's first braver. We're gonna do it all real time this time without stopping to narrate. Switch over to Cloud. Cloud, Tifa, red for grenades. Oh yeah, she didn't lead with stop this time. All right, single laser on Cloud. That's very good. That means now we can down circle for this braver. Wait on Tifa for a second. Switch over. Cloud's grenade first. Here comes tail laser. We hope for a second tail laser to give Cloud a limit break. She didn't do it, though. Next up is W lasers. Oh yeah, the first braver will always do double damage because of the preemptive. All right, looks like she skipped gas on this fight, so we're getting extra turns here. Yeah, if the braver crits, if the braver actually does crit with the preemptive, you can do like up to 1200 damage to her. All right, there's the stop. This time it hit. So pay attention. So I am going to pause and narrate here because now there's a thing. Here's the deal. Red had a grenade queued, but now he got stopped. How it works is the instant that Red gets unstopped, his grenade will be added to the end of the queue. So just keep an eye on Red and mentally pay attention to when his grenade gets queued so that you know what your turn order is going to be. So right there, we know it's going to be Cloud, Tifa, Red. Because I queued up Cloud, I queued up Tifa, and then he animated, which means his turn got added to the end. Jenova's going, so we know Jenova's at the top of the queue right now. So, there you go. All right. Cloud got another limit. Okay, this is a little scary, but I think she's almost dead. Oh, thanks, Lou. And there you go. So that one was a little bit scarier. As you saw, Cloud got pretty low on health. If you preempted Jenova, if you got the preemptive on Jenova, and she doesn't, like, triple laser Cloud, then, like, in one turn, I mean, you're pretty darn safe. And it might get a little dicey, a little scary, but you don't really have to worry about it. Sometimes, though, she just drills Cloud with like 3 lasers in one turn. And if she does that, Cloud has Restore equipped. You should probably have Cloud cast Cure on himself. Otherwise, if you got the preemptive and she doesn't do something ridiculous like that, then it might get a little scary, but you're probably going to be fine. If you didn't get the preemptive, then you're a lot more likely to have to use Cure. But all right, that's about that. Remember, you do have a Phoenix down if somebody dies. And there you go. So, on this part, there is a selection to make that is a time save. So, we just mash for a second here. And then he's going to say it was Sephiroth, time is now. Cloud says time is now. Here's when you start to pay attention. Is Tifa has this giant text box where she says, I'm getting confused. Second choice right after this. Too much trouble. And then you just get 2 text boxes. And now what I like to do here is I use this opportunity immediately to heal the party. So after that second text box about us leaving, I start holding triangle to open the menu as soon as possible. And the menu that I do here is magic on Cloud, double tap for cure, boom, 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 cure the party, back out, and then I go over to basically if Cloud, especially if Cloud didn't get a cross slash yet, but even if he did, I put cover back on Cloud here to increase the chances of him getting another Braver. So I go down to Materia, go over to Shiva, and very conveniently, if you followed my Materia menuing exactly at this point, if you select Shiva, cover is 1 R1 down from Shiva. And so there you go. So the whole menu is magic, cure the party, down to Materia, 2 right, 2 right, and then circle R circle. I screwed it up, so I'm going to do it one more time. Magic, Cloud, cure, boom, 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 down to Materia, 2 over, R1 down to cover, and that's it. Yep, that's it. And then run up, grab Ifrit. Got to grab Ifrit. So up to Ifrit, down and exit the boat. Why do you have to grab Ifrit? The reason we grab Ifrit is because we are going to sell the steel materia, we are going to sell the fire materia, but we would still like to have Ifrit so that we can use elemental Ifrit to gain resistance to fire on the red dragon fight. So yeah, fire is going to get sold for money, so we need Ifrit for actual fire elemental.